girls, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, I'm Rye and this is Rye's Reading Corner, and today we're going to be doing my May wrap-up. So again, hello, I'm Rye and this is Rye's Reading Corner. Please make sure and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It really helps my channel and I really appreciate it. So I know I say this every month, but I cannot believe May is already over with. I feel like this year is flying by, and I must say May was a really good reading month for me. Like, I'm not trying to toot my own horn or anything, but I read 15 books, and I read 15 complete books, and then I read half of another book, and my total pages of completed books was 4,957. If I counted the half a book that I did get to finish, or two, I guess you could say, it's well over 5,000 pages. And I found some new favorite books of all time, and books that will definitely be on my top books of 2021. So I must say May was a great reading month. So, like I said, 15 books, vast variety of genres. I have some middle grade, YA, and adult books. So how I'm going to do this, if you're not familiar with my wrap-up videos, I start off with my lowest rated books and work my way up to my favorite book of the entire month. I will timestamp down below if there's a certain rating you want to see. So let's start off with my 3-star books. Okay, so my first 3-star book and my least favorite book of the month is The Wicked Deep by Shay Earnshaw. I got this recently because the cover was so pretty and it's about witches. So there is this town, I think it's in Oregon, and back in the 1800s, 3 sisters get murdered because they're accused of a witchcraft, and they're thrown into the lake and they drowned, obviously. So every year in this town, they are said to come back as they take the place of like another girl's body living in this town, and they kill men by drowning them and they lure them in. So I like the concept of the story. I think it's a really cool concept. There was a lot of like instant love and really weird decision making on our main character, so that kind of bugged me. I wish it was more fantasy witch-like, but like I said, the concept itself was really cool. I really enjoyed that. I am willing to read more of Shay Earnshaw's work. There is another book, I think it's like Winterwood or something like that, and see kind of what that's all about. But yeah, it was a fine read. It just was not necessarily what I was looking for or what I expected, but I enjoyed it. All right, the next one is more of a 3.5, I would say, and this is the Kingdom of the Wicked by Carrie Mentecalo. First of all, the cover of this book is absolutely gorgeous. I almost was afraid to read it because it's literally so pretty, and it has cover inside art. It's beautiful. So this is a story about Amelia and her twin sister Victoria, and they are living in Italy, and they are witches, and they live in like a normal town, and her twin sister is murdered. So she, our other character, her sister, works together with one of the princes of hell to try and figure out what happened to her twin sister. So I actually started this book and I actually paused it for a little bit and did come back to it. I think what kind of throws me off is there is a lot of descriptive language, which I love, but it was a lot of descriptive language about food. And to me, that made parts of the story go really slow, because it really doesn't like aid the plot in any way. I mean, it's cool to see because her family owns a restaurant, so I get that, but it goes into great detail about all this food. And for me, that just kind of pulled me out of the plot a little bit. And I also felt like it took a long time for something to happen. It was a lot of like going to this place, going to the next place, going here and going there, and nothing really happened for some parts. So there were parts where I was like kind of bored, but then there were parts where like I couldn't put the book down. So it was okay. Like, I liked the book, but there definitely are parts where I just was like, I want a little bit more action to it. But I am excited for the sequel to come out in, I think it's October. Definitely picking up. I hope Fairy Loot does one that matches this, because this is probably the prettiest book that I own. But yeah, so it had witches. I love reading about witches, so it was a good read for me. Okay, so the next one are my 4-star reads. So the first one is a middle grade, and this is The Mystery of Black Hollow Lane by Julia Noble. This is about a girl. She, her name is Emmy, and she shipped off to a boarding school in England. Her mom, I think it's England, somewhere in, I think it's England, or it's in Europe. I know that for sure. I think it's England. Her mom is a, I think she's a writer. I read this one like at the beginning of the month, so I'm trying to remember. She's a writer, and she's going to be going like on like a book tour, and her dad just randomly disappeared, so she has nowhere to go. That's why her mom sent her to this boarding school. But before she goes to the boarding school, she finds this really random note that her father like left, and these like medallions, and so she brings them to her with the boarding school. And when she's there, she sees the same etchings that are on medallions on the walls of the school, and so she realized that her dad has a connection to this school. So this, the friendship in here is really fun. It's a fast read. It's kind of mysterious. I actually already have picked up the sequel. It reminds me of a book that I really enjoyed. It's called Killing November and Finding November. I think it's Killing November and Finding November. Oh, Killing November and Hunting November. I had to remember. It's been a while since I read them, by Adriana Mather, and that's kind of like the same premise but in a middle grade. So yeah, I'm really excited. It was action-packed. It was fun. I think it's enjoyable by any age. And yeah, so it was a really good read. All right, the next one is a book that I've been wanting to read for so long. It was on my 5-star prediction, so it didn't quite make that, but it is The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. I feel like everyone knows what this story is about. It's a book that I've been wanting to read for so long. We have our main character, Jude, and when she was 7, her parents were murdered, and her 2 sisters are brought to live in the high court of Fairy. And then 10 years later, you know, Jude wants to have power and wants to be like kind of accepted into this world, but she is human living in a fae world, and she doesn't feel like she really fits into the human world because she's grown up with faes. So I like this story. I feel like it touched a lot upon things that could be related to like our society, and the idea that not feeling like you fit in either place, because she really doesn't feel like she does. And I liked the story. I liked the Jude is such a badass character, and I loved that about Jude. I think she's strong and she's powerful, and I love a badass woman character. The bullying for me between Carden and Jude and like Carden's friends got a little like out of control. I think it was a little overdone for me. That's I think what brought it down to the 4 stars. But yeah, I like went and read this and picked up the Wicked King. Is it next? The Wicked King. I really liked the ending of this one, so I'm excited to dive into the Wicked King. But Jude to me was a top-notch character. Loved her, badass. I love this struggle between, like I said, between the fairy world and the reality world. But again, the bullying kind of got a little overdone for me, and I wish Carden didn't have a tail. Like, I like the wings. Like, I can do wings, but a tail, I don't know. But it was a really good read, and I'm excited to move on to the Wicked Deep. All right, the next one is a childhood favorite of mine, and this is From the Mixed Up Files of Mrs. Basil E. Frankweiler by E.L. Konsberg. This is a story, my ring light's really picking it up. So this is a story about a young girl who has a normal family, but she feels like she is kind of being forgotten about, or she's made to do a lot more work than her brothers are like meant to do. So she decides that she's going to bring one of her brothers, who she feels has a good like saving money, has more money all of her siblings, and they run away and go and live in the I never say this word right, Metropolitan Museum in New York City. And while she's there, this figurine comes there. I think it's called the Angel, and I want to say it's from Michelangelo, maybe. I don't remember exactly. And so they have to like, it's like a mystery and a headlines, and they're trying to like figure out the mystery while living in the museum. And there's some different type of things. There's mixed media in here and pictures. So yeah, this was really fun. The only thing I could think that I think why it knocked it down to 4 stars is like, it definitely promotes running away, and like some of the things it talks about, like suicide, I felt like it was really young for like the audience for this book. I mean, it's definitely a younger middle grade for sure. So like as a child, I didn't really pick up on it, but as an adult, I'm like, I don't know if I'd want my child reading this. And just the way it talks about like dope and like very just nonchalant, but it also is written, I think, in like the 60s. So, but again, it was nice to relive my childhood, and it was a nice quick read and palette cleanser. All right, the next one is Time Bomb, and this is by Joelle Charbonneau, and this is a YA thriller, and I like YA thrillers. So the tagline on the back says 6 students, 1 school, and time is running out. So we have 6 different characters. They're all students that are at a school, and they are trapped that is in a building that's being rocked by bombing. So there are bombs going off in this building, and 6 students are trapped together. I'm trying to look at the back because I don't want to say anything that's going to spoil anything. When they're in the school, their radio goes off, and it tells them that one of the people in the school is actually one of the the bomber who is planting all these bombs. So the 6 of them are trying to survive to get out, but they're also trying to figure out which one of the 6 of them is the bomber. So it's told from all 6 perspectives. What I really liked about this is that you don't know who it is right off the bat. Like, when you read more, you figure it out, and it's kind of obvious. I mean, it is. But at the beginning, each character's perspective, the first time you read from them, it gives you a reason to believe why it's that character, which I really liked. So after you read each of the perspective for the first time, you really do not know who is the bomber. But once you keep reading on, you figure it out, and it was kind of obvious. But at the first time, you really don't know, because at the end of each section from that character, it leaves you wondering, like, okay, that could be a reason why, like, it makes them, like, sus at each time. So I really liked that because I didn't know, but once I read it, it was pretty obvious, so that's kind of what knocked it down for me. But it was a quick read, and I really enjoyed it. Like, I had never really heard of it before, and I would definitely look more into this author. So if you're looking for a YA thriller that's quick-paced, that has you kind of at the beginning not knowing who's the culprit, but I would recommend Time Bomb. Right, the next one is by an author you're going to see a lot of. So I binged an entire pretty much series and duology in the month of May, found a new favorite author and a new favorite book. So this one did get 4 stars for me compared to the other books, and this is Siege and Storm by Leigh Bardugo. This is the second book in the why am I drawing a blank? The Shadow and Bone series in the Grishaverse. So I really can't say much about this, but it's about Alina, who lives in this world, the Grisha world, where they have Grisha, and they have like powers, and she doesn't think she is one, and then something happens on the fold, and she finds out she is a very, 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 very powerful Grisha. So this takes the journey of her and her friends. And yeah, I really liked this series. I love Leigh Bardugo. I will talk more about her in my 5-star reads, because that's where all the other books are. But this one for me read kind of slow at times and had a little bit of lulls and not as much action packed. But I really did like it. It is also the thickest of them, and I feel like this book could have been shorter. But overall, it was really good, and I just love Leigh Bardugo, and I want to read everything she's ever written. All right, now we're going to move into my 5-star read. So I am going to save my favorite top books until the end, which is really hard because like I said, I read some of my favorite books, I think, of all time this month. So let's get started. So the first book is They Called Us Enemy by George Takei. This is a graphic novel. I read it for the Asian Readathon. This is a story about George and his family when they were forced into a camp because they were Japanese American. And this is a graphic novel telling his story of what it was like living in these camps and being incarcerated in his own country, which I didn't know. This guy is the one that is in Star Trek as well. So there's also some rep in here. This was heartbreaking. I've taught this unit before in school, but I've never heard of this like actual story, so I kind of knew what it was like, but seeing it again like illustrated and hearing it from his perspective was heartbreaking and crazy to think that this happened in America and this is how we treated people. So if you want a quick read, a moving read, a story of what happened in our own country, I would highly recommend you pick this up. Okay, so the next book I read, which I loved so much, this is House of Hollow by Crystal Sutherland. So this is a story about Iris and her 2 sisters. Again, I'm looking at what's in the blurb so I don't spoil anything. So they were with her family, I think it was on New Year's maybe, and or that might have been, I've read a lot of books with this timeline and I forget which one is which. So they randomly disappear, and then a month later they return and they look completely different. They have like different color eyes. Their eyes are black, which they used to be blue. They have like these icy white hair, and they also have a moon-shaped scar on their neck. And so, and people aren't sure like what happened. They literally have no memory of what happened to them. So fast forward, Iris is 17 years old, just trying to fit in. Her two older sisters have kind of gone separate ways to deal with the what happened in their childhood. Their oldest sister is really famous in the modeling world, and her middle sister is kind of like in the rock punk culture, counterculture type thing. There is rep in this book, which is really nice. And then her eldest sister goes missing again, and some of it looks kind of similar to what happened to them when they were younger. So it's the sisters trying to figure out what has happened to them. This is fantasy, horror, thriller. Definitely look up trigger warnings for this. This book kept me on the edge of my toes the entire time. There was a character, her oldest sister's boyfriend, who I did like, but I wish was fleshed out just a little bit more because he did become a pretty prominent character throughout the book. So I just wish he was fleshed out a little bit more. But yeah, this book it took a direction I was not expecting. And yeah, I really liked this book. If you're looking for a quick read that is thriller, fantasy, horror, all wrapped into one, I would highly suggest this book. All right, the next book, it was a perfect romance. If you like The Hating Game, I would recommend this book. And I also heard people saying if you liked The Unhoneymooners, which wasn't my favorite romance I read, but I could see where that connection is, kind of like a cross between the two of them. And this is shipped by Angie Hockman. We have our main characters, Henley and Graham. They both work for a marketing in business, which is like for what's the word, like for cruises. And they are both up for a promotion, and their manager feels that they need to actually experience the cruise and talk to like the guests on the cruise to come up with a plan to present to him and the other people, like the high CEO people, to decide who's gonna win this position. But they do not like each other at all. I guess Hayden doesn't like her, or Henley doesn't like Graham as much. So they go on this cruise together, and the characters in here are funny. The banter is fabulous. And it's a hate to love romance, so I'll let you speculate what happens. But it also touches a lot about male-dominated workplaces and misogyny, and how sometimes women are treated in a male-dominant working culture or office. So I really liked that touch upon here. The banter was great. The relationship was beautiful, and I love this book. It was a clear 5-star for me. Again, it reminded me quite a bit of The Hating Game, but take place like in summer on a cruise. So I would highly recommend Shipped. Okay, so the next two I'm going to kind of do together because they're from the same series, and that is Shadow and Bone and Ruin and Rising. So again, both by Leigh Bardugo, first in the series, third in the series. So I can't say much about him. I already kind of said the summary. Alina is such a badass character. I just love everything about this. The Darkling and Jenna and Zoya. I don't know if I'm saying the name right, but the characters in this are just amazing. Like, I fell in love with this world, and you could definitely tell the progression from this book to this one of Leigh Bardugo's writing and into this world, and I feel like it ended on a really strong note, and I really enjoyed it. Okay, so we're to my top 2 books of the month. I don't know which one really would win for the top, because I think there will 100% both be on my top list of 2021 and probably top books that I've ever read. But the first one I'm going to go to is Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Ellison. This is a middle grade fantasy. We have our main character Amari, who lives in kind of a lower income area and goes to a like private school where she is the minority with it comes to race and with her economic status, and so she deals with a lot of prejudice there and racism, and recently her brother has gone missing, and you know, Amari and her mother are saying something's not right. You know, he had this job, he just wouldn't disappear. But because he is an African American male who lives in an area that's not as great, the police are saying that he was got into a gang because they live in where a lot of gangs take place, but they know that that's not true. So Amari is determined to figure out what happened to her brother, and she gets a note mysteriously from this person that randomly shows up at her house that her brother was actually attending a special academy, and they have to now go there. I'm trying to, again, see so I don't spoil anything. And this is like a supernatural like place, and she goes there and she's trying to figure out what happened to her brother, navigating this magical realm that she did not know even existed. You learn that there's actually magical creatures living alongside her, which I love. Like, I feel like that's every childhood fantasy, that there's like magical creatures living like next door to them. Like, I don't know, maybe it was just me, but yeah. So she's navigating this, trying to figure out her brother, trying to find herself in this magical world, and doing a competition, which I love, a magical competition. So this book just read so amazing. Sometimes I even forgot I was reading a middle grade book, and I just, there is a sequel coming out and I cannot wait. Next book that just wrecked me, and this is also the second book in this duology, which I'm sure you guys know what I'm going to, is the book that I half read this month and just finished actually yesterday. Made me cry. I was getting my nails done and I was crying in the nail place. And this is Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. So this takes place again in the Grishaverse, and someone said it's like 2 years after the Shadow and Bones series. And so we are following a new set of characters. We have Kaz, who's living in Ketterdam, and he has been given a heist to complete. So he gets, I think it's 6 or 5 different people with all different varying talents to complete this heist. Leigh Bardugo's writing in here is like night and day from the beginning of Shadow and Bone. The character development in here, oh my god, I'm so attached to all these characters. I did not want to finish Crooked Kingdom. I put it off because I did not want to leave this world with these characters. You dive into their backstories, you feel for them, you love them. The found family in here is just amazing, and their romance, which is not romance heavy, don't get me wrong, like don't take that as being romance heavy, but there are some little bit of like romance feelings in here that just is amazing. I was on the edge of my seat, and I can't say enough about it. If you have not read Six of Crows, and please read it. If you did not like Shadow and Bone, give this a chance, because the writing is like night and day to me from Shadow and Bone series. This will be one of my all-time favorite books, duology, whatever you want to call it, but it was just phenomenal, and I love every single character in this book. They're morally gray, and I just love it. Like, I don't even know what else to say about it, so I could literally sit here and talk about Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom for days and days, but I will not make you sit through that because it's already been a long video. So let me know if you read any of these books before. Let me know what you think about them. How is your reading month in May? Even if you read one book, that is amazing. So let me know down below what your favorite book was. So yeah, if you want to take this journey with me, make sure you press that subscribe button and hit that little bell so you never miss any of my content. You'll get notified. All of my social media information is linked down below. I've started a TikTok if you want to be my friend on any of those platforms. And yeah, stay kind, loves, and I'll see you next time. Bye!
Pretty over from the minute that I met you.